It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing all right. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328. 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. I should go right up the street for English class. That's what I should do. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Fight TV. Don't forget, you could catch all of the fights that you can't watch on your regular television provider right on Fight TV. That's FITE.TV. And guess what? We got a beautiful embedded player on the front of BillyCBoxing.com, so make sure BillyCBoxing.com is your stop to watch all the great fights on Fight TV. And speaking of Fight TV, download our free app today. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Download Our Free App Today banner. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man in a Plane, is available right now where all good books are sold. Get yourself a copy while you're watching or listening to the show. It's easy. Just go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit the website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. It's all over the place. As we gave you a programming note the other day, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow. So today we're going to do our breakdowns and predictions. A lot of decent fights this weekend, but the main one, heavyweight world title fight between Deontay Wilder and Bermane Stiverne. It's a rematch of when Deontay Wilder actually won his WBC world heavyweight title. I got some quotes, not only about the fight, but Deontay Wilder really gave his thoughts on a lot of stuff. About racial issues too, which I found pretty interesting, and I agree with a lot of stuff he says. So I'm going to get to that a little bit later. We're going to break down and give you predictions on that fight and some of the others that are scheduled this weekend, including tonight's fight, Jesus Soto Karass. Wonder why he's still fighting. You know, he's clearly slowed down a bit, and he's a warrior, and I think it's time for him to hang him up. But anyway, we'll talk about that. We got some other boxing news. We got some sports scores, World Series. We got NFL on tonight. We got some NBA, some hockey scores, all that stuff coming up in a little bit. But joining me right now, who's just waking up right now, he's only had his first gallon of coffee, is my man Sal. Rocky Cenicola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad. How you making out today?
It's great. This is my very first cup of coffee, and I'm smiling with your smiling face on my mug. Yeah. Your mug to my mug. How you like that? As long as you don't get mugged.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a mug. It looks like, well, you know, I'm thinking of I'm growing my hair.
Really? You should, man. I'm going
to grow my hair.
I got enough Sharpie juice in here to put a hair.
Well, you might not need that much. You might only need a fine. You might only need a fine point for what I got left.
Whoa, hey,
you know what I mean? But anyway, I wanted to talk today about the fight coming up this weekend. and I'm not so sure a lot of people think that it's going to be competitive. So let me start off by giving some quotes. Deontay Wilder, he says, and this is concerning the Stiverne fight Saturday night coming at us from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. He says, Stiverne's going to see me Stiverne is going to see me come to the Barclays Center and finish the job on Saturday. He survived the first time. He's the only one to survive on their feet. This is something that I've come back to do. I will finish the job this time. Stiverne had a lot of excuses after the last fight. Nobody wants to hear excuses from the loser. He knows what happened. I beat him 12 rounds in a row. I think this fight will be even easier for me. He hasn't improved since we last fought, but I'm going to show him a whole new Deontay Wilder. This is the end of Bermane Stiverne's career right here. He goes on to say, as soon as Anthony Joshua accepts the fight, then I'll be there. They're trying to distract people because they know that I'm a danger to anybody's career. All their excuses have nothing to do with the sport of boxing. The only thing people care about is the best fighting the best, and that's what I'm trying to do. Back to Stiverne, which he should be thinking of. He says, I thought the first Stiverne fight should have been stopped. He had knots all over his face and was concussed. I'm not trying to leave any doubt this time around. This is my mandatory opponent. I must face him, and that's just what it is. I've called out every name in the sport. All the top guys have ducked me, so I just have to take care of the people that are able to get in the ring. Sal, Deontay Wilder's comments about, finishing the job, Bermane Stiverne's going to see a new Deontay. I'm okay with all of that because, to be honest with you, Deontay Wilder has improved since the first fight with Stiverne when he won the title. Not that he's fought any level fighter above Stiverne since he won the title, but I do think he's gotten a little better. What bothers me about some of these quotes is that he jumps back to Anthony Joshua because he knows that Anthony Joshua is regarded as the heavyweight champion. And I can't stand the rhetoric and the propaganda, so to speak, where he starts with the, as soon as AJ accepts the fight. They're trying to distract people, talking about other things other than boxing. He wants to fight the best. And then he says, I've called out every name in the sport. All the guys duck me. It seems like he's still not focused on the Stiverne fight. And I don't quite understand where he's coming from about AJ. There's no way that Anthony Joshua is ducking Deontay. And quite honestly, Sal, I don't think anybody is ducking Deontay. I think Deontay Wilder's team is really trying to protect him. But enough is enough. It's time to give him the right opponents that he's saying he's asking for. What's your thoughts on his quotes about Stiverne, saying that he's going to finish it off, and then his distraction quotes about looking ahead to bigger and better fights, specifically with AJ?
All right. I think he is focused on Stiverne. I think he's going to try and look impressive. One, because he wants to come up big in lieu of, Anthony Joshua not looking stellar last week. So I think he's going to look at this fight for him to catapult his popularity and his notoriety and do a good job and try to finish Stiverne. And I can't blame him for some of the rhetoric he's trying to do. I mean, think of it this way, Bill. He does believe he is all that. And maybe he really feels on his level that he's been calling out, he's been trying, he's been doing things. And then for the ancillary comments and everything else, he's bouncing off the rhetoric just to get the attention and to try and stimulate. Remember, I always said, the media doesn't report the news any longer. They stimulate the news. And by his quotes getting out there, is going to get some fire back or feedback. And, if it helps to promote a showdown between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, then why not? Let it rip, let it go, let people carry it and run with it. That's the fight we want to see in 2018. So I'm okay with his quotes. I'm okay with some of the things. Even though you and I, and people that pay attention, know that he is not being avoided by many people. But if he believes he is, and if he thinks this is what's going to help get a fight between he and Anthony Joshua, signed, sealed, and delivered, let him be pompous. Let him say some things, because it's only going to deliver and ultimately give the fans and us what we were looking for. And then he's going to have to put up or shut up, and that's the bottom line. So I'm okay so far with some of his quotes, even though they may not fall in line with the realities of what's going on around him.
I'm totally fine with his quotes concerning Bermane Stiverne. I just think that he doesn't have a clue about the other stuff. As soon as Anthony Joshua accepts the fight, is what he says. I've never heard Anthony Joshua say he didn't want to fight. I've never heard Anthony Joshua say, I'm not ready to fight him. I never heard any of that. As a matter of fact, I heard Eddie Hearn say that they plan on having the fight in 2018. They just wanted to get this one mandatory out of the way. And 2018, I think they're looking right towards that fight. The last thing that I had heard about that fight was that, and keeping in mind that Deontay Wilder has never made $2 million, $2 million purse yet, and Hearn offered, Anthony Joshua's team offered Deontay Wilder a $7 million purse plus all of the USA television rights, which could be huge money, to fight him in England. And from what I understand, they turned it down. And I'm saying to myself, there's no way that he should expect to get more. They can't pay Anthony. Why should Anthony Joshua leave England while he's the champ when he's making 20 million plus? The last fight, I think it was $30 million total to fight to come. Between the television deals and everything else, 90,000. Well, in that case, 78,000 indoor. They had 90,000 for Klitschko. I'm sure they can draw 90,000 people for a showdown with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's foolish. It's foolish, And I just, they're saying as soon as he accepts the fight, well, that's because he's making it sound like Anthony Joshua has to come to him, and I think that's. It's an elephant in the room, Sal. Everybody's on to Deontay except for you and Deontay.
Well, it's not that I'm not getting on to Deontay. And, when we look at business, and boxing is a business, by the way. You're a contender, you're a champion, you're a fighter, you're a prospect. You only have a few short years to make your money, get in and out of the game while you still have your senses and wherewithal, body and mind intact to go on and enjoy the rest of your life. Some fighters, they don't realize that. They are led along like the baited carrot. That's what I always found. That carrot was always in front of me. And I used to say, what's up, Doc? Now, looking for that big next one. It's the next one. It's the next one. And, it's hard. So you realize you're in here for a certain amount of time. You're going to make it or break it and get on with your life. And, when you look at it from a business standpoint, you take some of the emotion and drama out of it. But it's a hard thing to walk away from for anybody. So he's got to look at this as business sense. Yes, I would love to see Anthony Joshua come to the United States, even though it may not make as much business sense for Anthony Joshua because he's making a ton of money in his backyard. I think there will be a great welcoming committee for Anthony Joshua once he did land his presence in the United States. And I think he would gain more fans. I think his fighting in the United States would be a big attraction. We don't know what it would draw as far as a live gate. We can only anticipate that we will get some big fans coming out for that fight. But with everything signed, sealed, and delivered and presented to Deontay Wilder, you can keep all the all the pay-per-view, whatever it is. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's like, hey, buddy, here's what we got to do. Let's get this fight on. Let's have a fight in 2018. You come over here. I'll give you this portion. You get this. And you know what? You'll be comfortable. And win, lose, or draw, we'll have a rematch of whatever we got to do. And then we'll come to the United States. I mean, this could all be negotiated and everything else. So I think they should make some serious notes, get some serious priorities in order, and make this fight happen. And they could tag the fight. They could title the fight. No excuses. Boom, and that's it.
listen, I'll
like
guarantee it right now. I'll guarantee it right now and make a bold prediction that assuming Deontay Wilder beats Stiverne easily, which I think he will this weekend, he will not fight AJ next. That Deontay Wilder will choose another opponent or be mandated to fight another opponent or some other BS and then blame AJ. When remember, boys and girls, we heard Team Anthony Joshua say that they would love to fight Deontay Wilder in the beginning of 2018. So some quotes from Bermane Stiverne. Stiverne says, and this is regarding, of course, the Deontay Wilder fight. Stiverne says, I have no fear heading into this fight. It's not that I didn't see the openings in the last fight. I just couldn't physically perform how I needed to. I had health concerns last fight, but now I've turned the chapter on that, and I'm focused on Saturday night. This is going to be a completely different fight this time around. I'm hungry to win. I'm always motivated and excited about getting into the ring, but obviously this is the biggest chance I'm going to have. The stage is set and my destiny's in front of me. I always said I was going to be the first person to beat him, and that's going to come together on Saturday. Everything's been perfect in camp. Deontay's going to be in for a rude awakening on Saturday. I'm going to let my fist do the talking for me. It all sounds good, Sal, and
sounds great.
They always do. But Stiverne hasn't. He's been known to not focus on training, although I know he's got at least a good 6 weeks in for this fight. I'm not making excuses, but my health was. The funny thing is that Stiverne was never anything special to begin with. His biggest win on his resume, really, which I'll get to later, is Chris Arreola. I don't see. Listen, I don't want to get into my prediction right now, but I don't see anything different. Stiverne is saying what he has to say. I do like the fact that he says, I'll let my fist do the talking. I think his only shot is to jump all over Deontay. Deontay thinks he's pretty invincible, and if I'm fighting Deontay, I would want to use that confidence against him. I would try to bait him into doing something that he may make a mistake on. So I don't know. I don't know what to take. He said, she said. I think they're just going through the motions. What do you think?
They're going through, like I said, they've got to stimulate the interest and make it sound like each one of them are going to be the world beater they think they are, and go out there and do it. I mean, I'm still trying to get over the comment one of our fans made yesterday about watching Deontay Wilder throw his combination of punches looks or reminds him of a drunken octopus. So I'd like to see Deontay Wilder do real well in this fight. I'd like to see him win and win big, and then I'd like to see negotiations and talks go on where we can have a fight signed, sealed, and delivered before April of 2018 between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. That's my prediction. That's what I would hope to see.
Some other quotes that I wanted to mention. Stiverne had said, and by the way, Bermane Stiverne turned 39 yesterday. He says, I've been in the gym all day, every day. I'm better than ever now. I've always thought the fight was never going to happen with Deontay and Ortiz as soon as they announced it. The first thing I thought was, this fight's not going to happen, so I'm going to get ready for it. That's interesting because a lot of naysayers have thought that both the Luis Ortiz and the Alexander Povetkin fights, that both fighters tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, which nixed the fights against Deontay Wilder. A lot of people, naysayers, Deontay Wilder naysayers, believe that those were all setups, that that Team Wilder knew that these guys weren't going to pass the PED test, and that's why he signed. And, although that sounds kind of ludicrous, as Mike Tyson would say, it does seem to have a pattern. Deontay's version of it is nobody wants to fight him, everybody's scared, and then as soon as he signs with a good fighter, all of a sudden they test positive. I honestly don't see Deontay Wilder posing that much trouble for a fighter that they would have to cheat in order to win, especially when you're at the level of fighting for a world title. So I'm not sure what to believe with that. But and to be honest with you, Sal, I'm not even sure what to believe about Stiverne being in the gym. He's been known to be a little lazy in the gym, so I'm not even sure I believe that. The one thing I am sure of, turning 39 and being as inactive as Bermane Stiverne has been. Remember, his last fight was a 10-round decision over Derek Rossi in 2015. So it's been 2 years since Stiverne has fought. So I mean, these are the type of opponents that Deontay Wilder steps in the ring with.
Well, and hopefully by no fault of his own, as we would suggest, possibly. But I do think that Bermane Stiverne, he's got to really know that this may be one of his last big opportunities. And I'm sure he does know that at the age of 39, and that he's fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. I think he'll come alive a little bit and do what he's got to do to look good, make it look good, and maybe he'll get lucky. But I do predict Deontay Wilder is going to have a good night and a night that he's going to want to display some good skill to send a message to the Joshua camp. That's my prediction of what I think. And yeah, I think Stiverne's got to do what he's got to do to make it interesting and to be competitive and to show that he wants this fight. He's going to win. He's going to do everything he's got to do. But I think it's going to be anticlimactic for Stiverne.
I would love to see Stiverne land a lucky shot.
I know you would.
Because I tell you something. Deontay Wilder, his physique, his body is totally prime to attack him in the body, right in the midsection. Stiverne is physically set up perfectly to do so. His height disadvantage, where he is in his normal stance, is perfect to go inside and try to get inside and work that body, especially if he's using, like I said, take the overconfidence of Deontay Wilder against him, assuming that Deontay Wilder in this fight will be looking for a knockout like he has against the cupcakes he's been fed in his last 5 fights since the Stiverne fight. Because remember, when he fought Stiverne, he did, for the only time that I've ever seen him, he did employ a jab and some boxing skill, which he's yet to do since. So considering his confidence is at an all-time high, I'm thinking he's going to go for the knockout. If I'm Team Stiverne, I want to get inside, I want to cover up, I want to get inside, and I want to work that skinny body and then go up the stairs.
I agree. I mean, that would be a good approach, and that would be a good technique and a good showdown as far as what he could do. But I'll tell you what, don't just discount Deontay Wilder's skinny body, as you say, because I'll tell you what happens. Even though he's got a lean mass as far as a physique in the midsection, don't think it's not bulletproof. What I mean by that it's strong, that it's tough, that he's able to endure and get and receive those blows. Because, I've seen many strong, thin fighters able to withstand a barrage of good midsection blows, only to come back and win. In fact, I'll tell you what, when you have, and I've been lean at times in my fight, and people have hit me in the body, even though it doesn't have that mass around it, don't discount that it's not strong enough to withstand a heavy blow, because it surely, most times and not, surely can do so.
We're going to take a short break.
Don't just think he's got a soft, thin middle ready to bend in half and break. He doesn't, I guarantee you.
We got to take a break. We're over, Sal. And Sal, while we take a break, check your mic because you're not using the one that's in front of you. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald. But there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel
beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And don't forget, programming note, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow, but it will be a great time for you to catch up on some of the shows that you've missed. And don't worry, if you're watching on a television affiliate or a radio affiliate, they will be getting shows. So don't worry about that. I'm here with Sal Rocky Cenicola. And Sal, I have the other day, your boy Deontay Wilder, and first of all, I know what you're saying about the midsection. Don't, just look at a skinny midsection and assume it can be busted up. And, I agree with you in every weight class except the heavyweight division. Because in the heavyweight division, you could have an opponent that, is much bigger physically in terms of weight and muscle mass. Deontay Wilder is a tall guy, and he's in great physical condition. There's no question about that. That's the one thing I admire and respect about Deontay. He always stays in good shape. But his frame is not built like a thick fighter. He's built more like an NBA player, in my opinion. And a short, stocky guy, compared to Deontay, a short, stocky guy like Bermane Stiverne, and anyone else, for that matter, that has stepped in a ring with Deontay, because most of them have been shorter than him. should employ a body attack. Nobody has yet.
No,
Nobody has yet. And how do you know that it's a solid body? Nobody's really attacked it. I would definitely, and even if it is a solid body, just like anyone else, no matter what, working the body breaks your opponent down.
It does. That would be the ideal strategy for Bermane Stiverne to implement. I'm sure he's going to be thinking along that line. You're a shorter fighter, you're more compact, and the body, especially a longer, lankier body, is a perfect target to go for. And we used to say, kill the body, the head will fall, or something like that, and attack the body to kill the head, and it all comes together. But the bottom line is, he's got to get inside to do that, and he's got to work his way in, and he's got to eat some punches on his way in. So, if he can get in there and keep up a steady attack on the body, yeah, it will take its toll. But what I'm trying to refer to is, just don't think that because he's a long, lean body that is not full of muscles that are going to protect him for the outer shell for as long as it can. It will eventually break and penetrate and wear him down, yes. But I don't think he's going to be one to fold over in half and break on one or two body shots.
No, but I think he will fold over and break after a few more. And the other thing is that a guy like Deontay, even though he comes after you trying to knock your head off, he's got those long, lanky arms, and his build is lanky. Get inside. Take that away from him.
I agree.
Anthony Joshua has shown us that he lands a devastating uppercut. He's become proficient, and he's actually working on it even more and more. Look at the Klitschko fight. Deontay, at least in my recent memory, I can't recall him really utilizing the uppercut. Now, if he did, and I'm not recalling it, that could indicate why people are cautious about going in. Plus, like you also said, you got to eat a couple of punches going in, and that's where Deontay's his best. He's got that pop, So, there could be a lot of reasons why fighters aren't taking advantage. But my game plan, if I'm a heavyweight, and I'm looking at Deontay Wilder, I'm saying I got to try and work that body. That would be my first game plan.
Target. Absolutely. You cut the ring off on him. You slip underneath those long arms and jabs. You nullify his strengths, and you stay there. Once you get in there, you stay there. You pound away. You get him on a rope. Do what you got to do. That is a good attack. It's a good approach. And, whether even if the first, second, third, fourth blow does not affect, it's going to be the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And then the constant barrage on his body that'll break him down, and we'll drop those hands and we'll leave the head exposed to get some real serious shots.
Yeah, well, that's what listen, unfortunately, the sport of boxing right now, it takes much too long to really get the big fights, and like I've said many times. The marination process that promoters like to do is BS, because after every huge fight, another one is there. You could say, the big fight right now in the heavyweight division, Deontay Wilder against AJ, and then if they had that fight tomorrow, there'd be another fight that would emerge. Okay, well, that fight's over. So-and-so won. So now I want to see him fight this guy. So there's always another fight for every weight class waiting on the horizon. And then you also have the other issue, if you want. If the fight is good, if the fight becomes what we would look at as a classic, then the rematch is always viable. So I think it's counterproductive for these guys to wait so long for the fights. I think it's more than just a marination process. I really think that it's a strategic move. Some fighters like Canelo were waiting for Triple G to age a little more. Canelo had age on his side. I think that fighters do that. Floyd certainly did. I think when boxing, a weight division, and we're talking heavyweights now, when a weight division calls for a fight where you have two guys that are parallel and assuming they're at the same level, it's time to fight. You know, I mean, years ago, people will always remember Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard had an opportunity to fight earlier in their career, and both managers, trainers, Angelo Dundee and Manny Stewart got together and said, hey, listen, these two fighters are going to have a showdown down the road. Let's not jump into the ring now. Let's wait until they're both champions, and we'll have a much bigger payday. And they were right. The difference here, Sal, is that these guys already have titles, and there's a lot of money on the line right now. There's no need to marinate anything.
No, and as I said, I would be surprised if they're going to test the fans and the boxing wherewithal with having a fight later than June of 2018 between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. In fact, I'd like to see, and I'd hope that fight would be signed, sealed, and delivered to us by April of 2018, but we'll see.
Oh, I hope it's sooner than that, my man.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, they're going to have the rest of the year to put it together, and that would be a nice Christmas gift to say, hey, look, guess what? We just signed, sealed, delivered. We're going to fight in February. That would be great.
Make no mistake. These guys have already discussed things. They're stuck. The team. I'll tell you right now. Team Wilder is trying to outprice himself. This is typical when you get a fighter saying, so-and-so is scared to fight me. He won't fight me. They don't want to fight. They're ducking me. They're this and that. That's typical comments from a fight that's been offered, and one side is trying to get more money. You know, Deontay Wilder, and I don't disagree, is trying to make the most money that he possibly can. It could very well be his last fight if he fights AJ. You know, so he wants to cash out. He wants to get a big payday. You know, I don't blame him for that. But when is enough? When do you say when? You know, when is when? When do you say when? You know, I mean, a guy who hasn't made $2 million in purse money to date as a world champion offered $7 million plus U.S. television rights. Listen, boys and girls.
I mean, that's as good as going to get, though.
I mean, U.S. television rights, he could probably make more than $7 million on just the U.S., whatever deal he cuts with Showtime, or if they decide to make the U.S. Viewing pay-per-view. I mean, you know, the guy could be in a position to make a ton of money, but yes, in order to do so, he's got to go to the U.K. You know, if I'm Team Wilder, I'm jumping on that. All the U.S. TV rights, that's a lot of money, Sal.
It's phenomenal. And you know what? That's a contract I would jump all over. You know what? And what's stopping them? Hey, guess what? We're going to have a rematch clause in that contract no matter who wins, and the next fight's going to be in the United States. So I think they could parlay this thing and make a good living. And guess what? By the end of 2018, we see two fights between these guys. They'll both be lining their pockets and giving the fans what they want. So that would be my approach to see this whole thing, this drama and this thing put to rest finally. I want to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua put a fight together. And but with the powers that may be, I think we can get two fights out of this and see who depends, on things. Who is going to be clearly the winner?
Exactly. Listen,
the fans will win. Fans will win.
Well,
and because I think it's going to be a good fight. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be just a walk in the park for any one of these guys. I think it's going to test both guys, and I think it will not go the distance. And I think we're going to be happy with the result.
We got to take another break. When I come back, I got some comments from Deontay Wilder the other day that are extremely interesting. You don't want to miss this. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system break down bust your budget, or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people. Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant, or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching The Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I'm here with Sal Rocky Cenicola. And Sal, the other day, Deontay Wilder was in a pissed-off mood. And it wasn't over Anthony Joshua. It wasn't over Bermane Stiverne. It wasn't over comments made by Billy C.
I was just gonna say
it wasn't the love affair that has developed between Sal Rocky Cenicola and Deontay. It was over none of those things. It was over a much more serious topic. And all kidding aside, it was over basically racism, and racism has become an issue here in the United States, in my opinion, and many others. Racism is at its worst point since the early 60s, when we had a lot of racial tension here in the United States. It was a different time then, and a lot of it was more justified than it seems today, at least through my eyes, but that's another story. But Deontay Wilder went off on a tangent, and he said, in a nutshell, he says, which a lot of people make this comment, and it's kind of an ignorant statement, but he said, and I quote, this is Deontay Wilder, "The more I learn about this country, the more I want to move to another country." Now, I'm going to read the whole quote, but and I'm sure he didn't mean it the way it sounds, because the truth of the matter is, you know what I always say, Sal? If you don't like it, get the hell out. I mean, if people really don't like this country and for everything it stands for, then get the hell out of the country. Go somewhere else. If people didn't appreciate the way of life we have in the United States, then all these thousands and thousands of people wouldn't want to live here. They wouldn't want to come here and start their lives and move their families and scale the giant wall that Trump has built. It's a whole nother joke. I don't mean to make light of that, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, don't complain. You hear a lot of these high-profile people, and I'm getting off of Deontay here for a second, but you see a lot of actors and actresses making comments like this, and a lot of these people that make these kinds of comments are so financially well off that you scratch your head. You're like, why are you making a comment like that? That you're going to go move to another country. Go ahead, leave. Don't let the gate on the United States hit you in the ass. That's what I say, Sal.
Well, it is a touchy subject and a matter of opinion, but I think other people, or these people that do say they want to move to another country or find another country to live in, don't forget there's trade-offs, pal. You may know one thing as you perceive it, but guess what? You're not going to know another when you get there. So there are going to be trade-offs in all decisions we make in life. And I feel in my heart of hearts that the United States of America is the greatest country on earth. And I think, it gives people the freedoms and opportunities that still attracts people to come here. I'm sure there's other great countries, and every patriotic member of that country should feel the same way as I do, and respect each country as I do. And there are trade-offs with each country, as I perceive and I feel there are. And it's just a matter of what is the right fit for you. But if you made your millions of dollars here, and you've now wanted to turn around and bash this country, well, it's kind of a statement. Then do as your mouth says. Get out and move out, and use the country as you have and as you will in the future. But if you don't like it, leave.
Exactly. I agree with you there. But let me read the whole quote, because I'm not really putting Deontay in that.
No, and I don't think he meant it to be taken literally. I think there's another message within the message.
Right, and this is this whole point of why I'm even reading this. He says, and this is the complete quote from Wilder. He says, "The more I learn about this country, the more I want to move to another country. Trump was right with his thoughts about the black community being irresponsible. People don't want to hear this. People don't want to hear the facts. Look at white-owned corporations investing in jails because they were promised that those mother effers would stay full." He quoted John H. McWhorter, was an author and a professor at Columbia University, and he wrote, "To term ourselves as part of African reinforces a sad implication that our history is basically slave ships, plantations, lynching, fire hoses in Birmingham and South Central, and that we need to look to Mother Africa to feel good about themselves." And this is, he feels that black Americans are black Americans, that they shouldn't be called African Americans. And Deontay Wilder felt the same way. He's blaming some of the black community. He says, "My head is," and this is Deontay, says, "my head is in a peaceful state of mind. I'd love to fight Anthony Joshua. I still sit back and analyze my career. I think, what have I done so wrong to get the bad end of the stick with all these fights? All I've ever wanted was to fight the best and be the best. Am I that dangerous to other fighters' careers that they have to do certain things?" A lot seems to be on Deontay Wilder's mind, Sal. The racial tension obviously is playing a part. I do think that he makes a strong statement, and only he could. I certainly can't. To the black community, saying, "Hey, let's stick up for each other before we start pointing fingers at everybody else." That's the way I read it. And he says, let's be proud that we're black Americans, and just like John H. McWhorter writes, why do you have to insert African? Because you're kind of not letting yourself get out of that whole negative slave thing and everything else that McWhorter writes about, which is horrific that any group of people had to go through at any time in history. But let's basically say move on. Be proud of what you've accomplished. You're living in America. There's so many success stories, more than not, I would think, and be proud of it. And I think Deontay Wilder is trying to pick up that torch and run with it. So he's battling that front. He's battling, Bermane Stiverne, who's going to be physically in front of him on Saturday. He's battling the questions that people ask and don't give him credit for, like myself, the Anthony Joshua. I mean, Deontay Wilder's got a lot on his mind, Sal. Is it going to play into Saturday's fight?
He does have a lot on his mind, and to not wear it on his sleeve, for lack of a better term, but as you had suggested, I do like Deontay Wilder. I do think, he does have some talent, and I do believe he has some passion that he does feel strong about as far as movements and things. And I think a fighter, especially on his level, knows how to put everything in context, and I think he will put the blinders on. I think he will focus, and I think he's going to have Bermane Stiverne on his mind and in his sights on Saturday night, and that's all he's going to think about. The ancillary, secondary, and tertiary, these are all things that you do pay attention to, and you do want to entertain and think about. That's fine, but make no doubts about it. He's a professional. He knows what he has to do Saturday night. He's going to be focused. The blinders are going to be on, and that's the only thing he's going to be thinking about. I promise you, that day of the fight and going into that fight.
Yeah, well, hopefully that will be the case. Just an update here on remember Amir Mansour? This is a 40-year-old plus. I think he's over 40 now. Heavyweight, 23 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. He feels that people are ducking him. He thought that he should get a shot against Deontay Wilder. Feels that Deontay Wilder's team is ducking him. So he announced that he signed with a new agent, and he's looking forward to getting in the ring soon. I don't think a new agent's going to get him a fight with Deontay Wilder. I just think that he's one of these odd guys out. He's a dangerous fighter. He's not overly skilled, but he's a powerful guy. And, the way the landscape of boxing is today, you avoid those kinds of guys. And, Deontay Wilder's team has been very successful in putting him in, which they term as safe fights. And although I think he beats Mansour's a tough guy. He's a tough out. He's willing to take a punch or two. And maybe they look for fighters that aren't willing to take a punch or two from Wilder. And that's why he's sitting where he is, Sal.
That could be, and it is strategy. Remember, I always used to say, hey, you have a commodity, you're going to look to promote the commodity, and everyone's going to ride on that back of that commodity to make as much money for as long as they can with that commodity. So Deontay Wilder is a commodity for a lot of people, and they are going to promote, they're going to prolong, and they're going to do what they can do to maneuver. That's why I'm saying, before sooner than later, I think a fight with a rematch clause against Anthony Joshua would be a good answer to everything that they're looking for, both fighters, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. They'll make enough money, they'll get enough notoriety, and they'll have a rematch, and I think they could both enjoy their lives later on.
I'm going to be bringing up all the fights that are on TV this weekend and break them down and give you my official prediction in a minute. But first, let's get you caught up on other sports scores and some emails I have. World Series action last night. It's finally over. We were treated to a fantastic World Series, except for last night's game. It became kind of anticlimactic for me. The Astros beat up the Dodgers pretty badly, 5-1. I had been rooting for the Dodgers. They are my second team, so congratulations to the Astros. One thing I do want to say, for a lot of times when you look at World Series or Super Bowls or NBA championships, et cetera, a lot of times the two teams that emerge to play for the world titles are generally regarded as not the best teams. I do honestly believe that the American League had their best team in the Astros, and the National League had their best team in the Dodgers. I think what happened last night was that Dave Roberts, who's the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, blew it. He didn't manage. He was he was outmanaged. The Astros beat up Darvish early, and in my opinion, Dave Roberts should have pulled the Dodgers starting pitcher Darvish after the score was 2-0. He let him stick it around for another run. It was 3-0, and then all of a sudden 5-0. To come back from 2-0, like they were down in the first inning. That's a doable thing. The Dodgers found themselves with bases loaded and couldn't score in the inning after that. But you don't put the guy back out on the mound when he just can't get it done. He didn't get it done in the first game, and he didn't get it done in this game. The bottom line, when you're a manager, especially in a World Series, there is no tomorrow. There's no setting anybody up. There's no lining up pitchers. Everybody was ready to pitch that night. He should have benched Darvish, and who knows what would have happened. But they pile on 5 runs on the guy, and the Dodgers couldn't come back after that. Congratulations to the Astros. They were a hitting team. They showed that coming into L.A., being up a game and then losing to tie it did not deter them. It seemed that destiny was on their side with all of the tragedies that happened in Houston this year. So congratulations to the Houston Astros. They were the better team last night, and the World Series boiled down to that game. And it was an exciting series, except for last night. That was a one-sided game. It did not have the drama that the other 6 games seem to have. But anyway, did you watch it?
I did watch it while we were eating dinner at the pizzeria and things, and we had the highlights and we had the game on. And, the Dodgers did have their moments, as you suggested. They had the bases loaded. They had some mighty Casey at-bat moments. And just like Mudville, they struck out. But it did have its moments where you could almost anticipate, okay, they're going to tie it up. They're going to do it. They're going to get within striking distance. But in the final game of the World Series, to come back from a 5-0 deficit is a tough thing to claw at. And I agree with you. It's like I say with fighters any given night. These guys just fell apart, and they got the management. I agree. They should have pulled that pitcher, and they should have definitely kept it going. Once the batters from Houston saw that pitcher for the first time and the second time, man, it was like, hey, we got this guy's number. We're going to bang him away. That's what they did. They should have given him a new look with a new pitcher.
Yeah, no, listen, they had Kershaw ready. Kershaw came in the game, pitched well, but big mistake by Dave Roberts. And
he may have to pay for that, too.
Well, you know what? I mean, the guy seemed to have the right formula all year long, choked in the biggest game of the year. And I believe that nobody should sugarcoat it. They need to put him on the chopping block, not to get rid of him. I'm not meaning that. I mean, he's got to stand up and say it was his fault, because it was. He's the guy that makes the decision. You could blame Darvish all you want, but at the end of the day, the manager is supposed to make those decisions. And he failed. But over in the NBA, the Hornets beat the Bucks 126-121. Pacers over the Cavaliers 124-107. 76ers beat the Hawks 119-109. The Suns beat the Wizards 122-116. The Celtics topped the Kings 113-86. The Heat beat the Bulls 97-91. The Rockets over the Knickerbockers 119-97. The Magic squeaked by the Grizzlies 101-99. The Timberwolves topped the Pelicans. The Pelicans just doesn't seem like the right name for an NBA team. But anyway, Timberwolves beat the Pelicans.
Yeah, long mix.
Yeah, 104-98. The Nuggets beat the Raptors 129-111. The Jazz over the Trailblazers 112-103. And the Clippers beat the Mavericks by 9, 119-98 in that one. Actually by 11, but I can't add. In the NHL, the Blackhawks shut out the Flyers 3-0. The Penguins over the Oilers 3-2. The Devils over the Canucks 2-0. Maple Leafs over the Ducks 3-1. And the Sharks beat the Predators 4-1. It's Thursday Night Football tonight, and the Bills are coming to the I was going to say Meadowlands, but MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands to play the hapless Jets. The Bills are 5-2, sitting atop, tied with the top of the AFC East. The Jets are sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss at 3-5. The point spread on this game is the Bills laying out 3. The total is 43. Listen, I wouldn't bet this game at all. You never know what happens. This is a long-time rivalry, but I can't. Personally, I'm not playing this game, but I can't see the Jets beating the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are a well-coached team. They seem to be finally displaying discipline, something that they haven't displayed over the last several years. And the Jets display none of that. They are coached by a guy that shouldn't even be allowed to enter a stadium as a spectator, let alone a coach. Their offensive game plans stifle themselves. They go up ahead in a game, and then all of a sudden they try to establish something they do not have, and that's called a running game. They don't have any good running backs. They got 2 decent running backs in their rookie, and also with Bilal Powell. When you look at Forte, I mean, it's not his forte anymore. But no, Matt Forte is an old guy. He's good for situational plays, and you just can't put all the pressure on these 3 guys. They don't have one of those durable, let's give them the ball every down kind of running back. But yet they play and call their offensive game plan as if they did. And oh, by the way, they don't have a line either. And the quarterback isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, even though Josh McDowell has been having a fantastic year. But the Jets are terrible. It's an embarrassment to be a Jet fan. I am one. And I certainly wouldn't waste any money on this game tonight. But with that said, the Jets and Bills always play tough. And the Jets are home. If you want to throw your money in the air, go ahead. But I don't anticipate the Jets winning this game. As a matter of fact, I don't think they're going to win another game all season. Anyway, we got a couple of emails. This first one is from my man Brian Todaro. Brian says, "Hey Billy C, I haven't written in a while, but I still listen on a regular basis. I have 2 quick notes to make and a question." He says, number 1, I am a worse boxing fan now that the Billy C Challenge isn't going on anymore. That really kept me paying attention to all the fights each weekend. It's a little harder to get up for some of these shows when the matchups suck, or when the best are fighting placeholders instead of top guys. Looking back, I have no idea how I made all the time to research for your challenge, but it honestly kept me more interested in boxing. Thanks for that experience and all the work you put into that. I really appreciate that, Brian, big time. And a lot of people missed the challenge. And if you're new to the show, we did the Billy C Challenge, which every week we had a bunch of fights that you had to pick. And we kept the running tally based on winning percentage and gave out prizes every month. It was a lot of work. I just couldn't keep up with it. But I promise we will have the challenge reinvented coming soon, maybe next year. He says, you had me laughing out loud all the way to work today. I was listening to Monday's show when you were talking about Mauro Ranallo. I really want to punch the shit out of him, is what you said. Did I say that? And he
Did you say that?
And he says, and also how stupid looking he looked. Did I really say that? He says, those are some classic Billy C quotes. I wish I could have seen Sal trying to hold it together during that segment.
I was looking for a mute button, but I'm nullified here.
Did I really say those nasty things about Mauro Ranallo?
Billy? We'll talk about it later.
I don't know. I mean, geez, it's not like he slipped my tires on my car or anything. But
No,
yeah.
but
the truth of the matter is, in case anybody doesn't know it, I can't stand Ronaldo. Anyway, he says in 3, I recently watched a 30 for 30 about Tommy Morrison. It was pretty good, and there's a bunch of things I didn't know about his life. I recall over the years you having some opinions, and in parentheses it puts imagine that, about Tommy and how he managed his career, treated his promoters, and was in denial about his unfortunate health status. Have you talked about this documentary? And if not, what did you think? I hope you guys are doing well. Brian, I appreciate your email. I did not watch the documentary, but we have talked a lot about Tommy the Duke Morrison on this show. As a matter of fact, before he passed, Tommy was on this show several times, as his wife was as well. And it's it's funny that Brian brings this up, because I got a nasty comment on a Tommy Morrison. I think it was a blast from the past we did, and there are people that believe that HIV doesn't exist, that AIDS is all a fabrication from the U.S. government, etc., etc., etc. The thing is that Tommy Morrison was a good fighter. There's no question about it. But he was in denial. Some of the things. I mean, all he had to do, and I asked him flat out, you want to fight? All you got to do is succumb to a blood test. And he had this whole theory that people were out to get him, and they were tainting his blood and all this stuff, and he didn't want to give his blood because he felt that he wasn't going to get a fair test. And it was pretty easy. All he had to do was have a commission-approved blood company, a blood drawing company, take his blood and run it through the test. And if he passed, he would have been allowed to fight. He refused to do that. His health deteriorated, and he passed. And he was cremated quickly. And on his birth certificate, they wouldn't even allow them to put anything to do about HIV. And it was a crazy
Natural
situation.
cause, right?
Well, it's a crazy. No, it wasn't natural cause, but it was a crazy situation with him, and it's a shame because he was a good fighter, and woulda, coulda, shoulda. It would have been interesting to see how his career would have progressed if he did not, get side railed by HIV and all of that. Yes, Sal.
Well, I was just going to say, I was watching some old Tommy Morrison fights, and I cannot help but think of the devastating knockout that he took from one of our men that we both know, Merciless, Ray Mercer. I mean, that was a devastating knockout that Ray launched on Tommy Morrison several years ago. And that's a hard one to recover from there. Speaking of Ray Mercer, he called me Halloween night, and he said hi. He listens to the show, and it was good to hear from him, as well as Marlon Starling called me last week, too. It's good to hear from these guys. They're great guys, and I'm going to give Bobby Ches a call, too, and see how he's doing. But these guys were asking about you, too, Bill. I just want to say hi.
They were asking about me. Good, thanks. Because I talk to Marlon on a regular basis. Hey, listen, let's take a short break. I got another email. And when we come back, I'll read that email, and then I'm going to break down and give you my predictions, as well as get Sal's on all the big fights for this weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Milberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I got one more email I want to read today. And then I'm going to get into breaking down and giving you my predictions on the fights for this weekend. This one's from my man Jeffrey out of Pennsylvania. He says, "Hey, Billy, I really enjoy and look forward to your blast from the past segments. Some bring back great memories, and others provide information about fighters of the past that I've never known. I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but I was talking with my grandson, Jake, about my numerous trips to Philadelphia and the Blue Horizon to watch fights. For me, going to the Blue Horizon wasn't just going to see fights, but actually feeling like you were part of the total atmosphere." He says the sounds, the closeness to the action, the competitive fights, and yes, even the intimidation of being in North Philly was with a late-night drive back to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I saw Marvis Frazier, Bert Cooper, a young B-Hop with his executioner mask on, and an entourage, and even a young Lehigh University student named Sean Hart taking a shot at the pros. Busloads of students and family to support him. What an awesome, awesome place to experience boxing for a boxing fan that could go by himself and find you were surrounded by welcoming fight fans all around you. I came up on this article and was so sad to learn that this once lauded great boxing venue is in the process of being demoed. If appropriate, it might be interesting to discuss the Blue Horizon as part of a blast from the past segment. It absolutely played an important role in my love for boxing, and I'm sure many others as well. We're beginning to get some nice fights here at the Sands Casino in Bethlehem, but nothing compares to the Blue Horizon a national treasure on its way out. Make sure you say hello to Sal and the rest of the gang. I love the idea of doing a blast from the past on the Blue Horizon, and I'm going to put it on the list, and we will definitely do that. And I do want to add this, not only let me make sure I phrase it the correct way. Not only, first of all, I agree with Jeff 100%. The Blue Horizon, a treasure for the sport of boxing, a huge historical past. But no discredit to the Blue Horizon. If you've never experienced a live boxing event, you really need to, because boxing is like no other sport live. You can, with today's technology, I'm obviously a football fan, baseball fan, etc. You can watch those sports on television, and don't get me wrong, going to see any live event is always good, because you get, like Jeff puts, you get the sights, the sounds, the smells, the other fans, etc. But with other sports, the technology kind of makes sitting in your living room on with a high definition big screen TV a pretty good seat. But boxing is a little different. Boxing, you don't get, even with the big screen TVs and the high def, you don't get that same feel. You don't hear those punches. You don't see them. You don't see the look in the fighter's eyes when he gets popped. You miss that. And I think it's really the only sport left that you're not going to get a better view from home. Yeah, you're going to get the replays and you're going to get the slow-mo and all of that. But in most cases, you see that on the screen at the event anyway. Boxing is still, in my opinion, the sport that you must experience live. So what do you think?
That's a good point. Because other sports, I will tell you this. I don't know if I would even be convinced to go to a Super Bowl or a World Series game to watch both those events rather than sitting home with my family or friends around me, having the opportunity to see replays, to see it as it is, and enjoy some commentary. I like that venue. I mean, I love going to ball games, don't get me wrong, but to see a live boxing event is an experience, and I think it is something that everyone should, and whoever is a fan in some way, shape, or form of boxing, needs to experience going to a live event for many of the reasons you just spoke about right now. I think it's great, and I think what you can see at a live event in boxing is some of the things that the camera may not pick up, or that you can actually see in the detailed frame of your own eyes. So, yeah, I think it's a good experience for anybody to do, because it is an event, and it has the drama, it has everything else that you may be looking for if you are a real boxing fan.
Sure.
So I think a live event is a definite risk for any good, solid boxing fan to experience.
No doubt. We got some fights that I want to talk about. First and foremost, tonight, Jesus Soto Carras is fighting again. 28-12 with 4 draws, 18 knockouts. He's taking on Juan Carlos Abreu, who's 19-3-1 with 18 knockouts. It's the main event on tonight's Golden Boy show on ESPN. I'm just going to say this, Jesus Soto Carras, what a warrior he is. It's just that the last couple of fights, it seems like he's slowed down. He takes way too many shots. He's tougher than his own good. After his last fight, I thought he should hang him up. That's just my thoughts. I'm not going to break down that fight. I am going to break down the WBA light heavyweight world champion Dimitri Bivol's fight. He's 11-0 with 9 knockouts. He's fighting on HBO this weekend against Trent Broadhurst. We are going to talk about that. And the WBC, I found this a little interesting. The WBC bantamweight champion Louis Neary, after his fight, with Yamanaka, it was reported that he tested positive for a banned substance. And as is the case with the WBC, they performed their own investigation into the matter. And the WBC earlier this week released a statement that said, based on the evidence, the WBC wasn't able to make a determination with sufficient certainty as to whether Neary's adverse finding was the result of an intentional ingestion of a banned substance to improve his performance, or if it was based on food contamination. Therefore, the WBC is ordering a rematch between Neary and former champion Shinuki Yamanaka for their belt. I find this amazing because how can they find enough evidence to not let other fighters fight when everybody says they don't? I don't know how it got. Maybe it was something I ate. Maybe it was my meds. Maybe it was my vitamin supplements. I mean, to me, this sounds awful fishy, Sal. What do you think?
Well, like I said, if you got nothing to hide, don't put the subterfuge around.
But my point, but wait a minute. My point is, how can the WBC say they couldn't tell if it was if he ingested it purposely or if it came from something else? I mean, couldn't anybody say that about any PED?
Anybody could say it about any PED. Yes, you are true. Whether you get it from a nasal spray, whether you get it from here, whether you get it from there. If something's banned, you got to respect the wishes and understand the reasoning. And if you're naive enough to think that you're going to validate it because it was a prescribed medication or something else, as you know that you can probably easily have done, you're still receiving some of the stimulus or benefits of that banned substance. And like I said, these are things that should be disclosed, should be discovered, should be entertained well beyond the reach of canceling a fight or doing something. They've got to know these things and submit it right away.
We got some fights this weekend. First one I'm going to talk about is on Saturday on HBO. It starts early. It's a 5:45 Eastern Time start. Dimitri Bivol is defending his WBA light heavyweight title against Trent Broadhurst. Dimitri Bivol, a lot of people think, is the best light heavyweight on the planet right now. The computer suggests differently. He's ranked at number 13 in the world by the computer. Like I said, he's currently the WBA world light heavyweight champion. He's 6 foot tall. He's an orthodox fighter, 11-0 with 9 knockouts. Got an 82% knockout ratio. He's a good fighter. He just hasn't had that signature fight yet. His last fight was a 4th-round stoppage over Cedric Agnew, which you could make the argument was his best opponent. He did fight Samuel Clarkson, who's that was for the interim title. To me, he's an ordinary fighter. And he fights another guy along those lines. He's fighting Trent Broadhurst, who's ranked at number 37 in the world by the computer. He's 20-1 with 12 knockouts. In his one loss, he himself was stopped, and that was earlier in his career. He fought Robert Benderidge, who actually Bivol had fought and won. Was knocked out in a scheduled 8-round fight in the 5th. When you look at Broadhurst's record, he's fought some journeyman fighters, but again, no big name pops out at you. This fight, I hate to say it, it's HBO. They're not usually known for this, but maybe they're changing their ways. But this is a showcase fight for Bivol. I think Trent Broadhurst is in above his head. I'm picking Bivol in this to win by a vicious knockout. What's your thoughts, Sal?
I'm going to share that same thought. I think Bivol's going to win. He's going to do it in dominant fashion. And this is going to give what HBO wants, a Bivol victory on a big level.
The next fight I want to talk about is Sean Porter going up against Adrian Granados. Listen, if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you know that I like Sean Porter. Not because he's a master at the sport of boxing, because he's not. He's kind of a wild fighter. We kid about him, landing his punches like lightning, and we don't mean fast. We mean because lightning doesn't strike in the same place twice. And Sean Porter's accuracy is less than stellar. But nonetheless, the computer sees him at welterweight at number 6. He's a short fighter at 5'7". Remember, he started out much heavier and has found a comfort zone as a welterweight. He's a former world welterweight champion, 27 wins, 17 by knockouts, 2 losses and a draw. His losses came at the hands of Kell Brook when he lost his title, and his last loss was against Keith Thurman. The Kell Brook fight was a bit controversial. You could say what you want. I thought Porter won. And in the Keith Thurman fight, although it was a unanimous decision, I thought that was a little closer than it seemed as well. But he does have wins over Adrian Broner, Andre Berto, Paulie Malignaggi, Devon Alexander, Julio Diaz, Phil LoGreco. Nobody likes Sean Porter more than me. I would have loved to have seen him fight Floyd, to be honest with you. But he steps in the ring with Adrian Granados. Granados is ranked at number 11 by the computer in the welterweight division. He has a record of 18-5 with 12 knockouts and a couple of draws. He's never been stopped. He's coming off a loss against Adrian Broner. This fight, I think one of the reasons you're not hearing a lot about it, even though it is on television this weekend, I think one of the reasons is because I don't think it's going to be too competitive. No disrespect for Granados, but Sean Porter's going to win this fight, and he's probably going to get another world title shot in his next fight. What do you think, Sal?
I think you're right across the board, and you know what? How can you not like Sean Porter? I mean, the guy comes to fight. He's in great shape, well-conditioned, I mean by that. And you know what? He strives, and he tries, and he challenges himself. He doesn't say no to anybody. And yes, he throws combinations, and some of them may not be on their mark, but the guy is a gamer. He's in there, and he's got that overwhelming style that if the first, second, or third punch may not catch you, it's going to be the fourth, fifth, or sixth that can. And I love the excitement he brings to any fight. And guess what? He has a pretty damn good resume. And to have 2 defeats on your belt against Keith Thurman and Kell Brook that were both controversial or close, I mean, that's a pretty damn good fighter and a good record. And I think he's got some great fights ahead of him. I think, he can only show more and more improvement. And but I love Sean Porter. I think he's a gamer, and I support him, and I love to see him in another fight against Keith Thurman.
The next fight I want to talk about is a heavyweight fight on the undercard of the Wilder-Stiverne fight. And I'm not sure if we're going to get to see this fight on Showtime or not. I certainly hope so. And if not, I'm sure we'll be able to see it on the streaming. But Dominic Breazeale is going up against Eric Molina. Now, Eric Molina is a fighter who was a former, not one, but 2-time world title challenger. A lot of people know Eric Molina because of his fight against Deontay Wilder, in which he challenged Deontay for his WBC World Heavyweight title back in 2015. The thing is Anthony Joshua fought Molina late last year, I should say, and knocked him out in 3. Deontay knocked him out in 9. Eric Molina showed us that he's a tough guy. He's ranked at number 18 in the world at the heavyweight division. He's 35 years old. He's 6'4" with a 79-inch reach, 26 wins, 19 by knockout. The thing about Eric Molina is when he loses, he gets stopped. He's got 4 losses in which he was stopped all times, and including in those stoppage losses, his pro debut took place on March 17th in 2007. He was knocked out in that fight in his pro debut, but then he went on to win 18 fights in a row, 14 by knockout before his next loss, which happened to have been at the hands of Chris Arreola back in 2012. Eric Molina's a tough guy. He steps in with another tough guy, Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale, he too is a former world title challenger, challenging Anthony Joshua for his title in June of last year. Dominic Breazeale is ranked number 13 in the world by the computer. He's also over 30. He's 32 years old. He was a former football player who's turned into a boxer, and he seems to be getting better and better. It seemed early in his career that they were, feeding him the right kinds of guys, and he had the Lenroy Thomases and the Nagy Aguilaras all beating them. He had a tough fight with Amir Mansour. Amir Mansour had to stay on his stool. This was when he put his teeth through his tongue. He pierced a hole right through his tongue, and his corner was critical of him for quitting. And I'm saying to myself, Jesus, how painful must have that been? But he beat Amir Mansour. He beat Big Fred Cassie, who's not that big. He beat Devin Vargas. He's beaten some good guys. And in his last fight, on another undercard of Deontay Wilder, he beat Huguenot, a highly touted prospect. Is it going to be Huguenot, who he stopped in 5 rounds? I like Dominic Breazeale. In his fight against Anthony Joshua, he showed us that he's got a granite chin and a hell of a lot of heart before succumbing to the monster. I'm picking Dominic Breazeale in this fight, and I have a feeling that if Dominic Breazeale steps in the ring with Deontay Wilder, that he wins. I think Breazeale is better than Wilder. I think Wilder's faster, and in that one fight shown some great boxing ability, but I like Breazeale against Wilder if that fight ever happens. Who do you like, Eric Molina against Dominic Breazeale?
Well, you mentioned Dominic Breazeale, and we've seen both fighters. And, the first time I saw Dominic Breazeale, I said, wow, this guy picks himself up off the canvas. He comes back. You can't count him out. He is a fighter. He is a gamer. My concern for Dominic Breazeale is just that he can take a slaughter. He can take on punches, and he just keeps on coming. And I hope he doesn't have to pay for that later. But he is a conditioned fighter. He comes out there to win and to fight and put it all out on the line. How can you not love a fighter like that puts it in the ring and just wants to get it on, as we used to hear some referees say.
Some referee. His name was Mills Lane.
I know that he was great. I love Mills Lane. Anyway, but I think Dominic Breazeale. I think both fighters know that this fight is very significant for their careers and their future, and I believe both of these warriors are going to go out there and try to be big in this fight, with a knockout. And who could take a better punch? I think they both could take a good shot. Who could sustain a level of a slaughter and dish it back? I think they both are. I think this is an excellent fight. I think we're going to see a lot of action. I think we're going to see an ebb and flow. But in the end, I think maybe Dominic Breazeale may be coming out the victor. So I'm going to go with you there, Billy C. I think Dominic Breazeale, I just hope that he has enough to outlast Molina and does it. I think he will.
The thing about Dominic Breazeale is that he's getting better and better. He started late, and, unfortunately in the heavyweight division, every fight is a knockout, drag-out fight when you get hit, So even with some of the guys that we refer to as less than stellar opposition, has been a learning process for Breazeale, and I think his progression has been exactly what I like to see in a fighter. He has gotten tougher and tougher opponents, and he's facing a similar guy to himself in Molina, but it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a great fight. Yeah. I think it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be one of the best fights of the show.
And finally, the main event of that card, Bermane Stiverne getting another shot at Deontay Wilder. And his old title, because if you remember, Stiverne had that title before Deontay did. Bermane Stiverne, former world champion, 39 years old. As a matter of fact, he turned 39 yesterday. And he's 8 years older than Deontay, 5 inches shorter at 6'2", and he's got a half a foot shorter arm reach at 77 inches. His record, 25 wins, 21 by knockout. 2 losses in which he was stopped one time, and he does have a draw. Now, when you look at Bermane Stiverne's record, 28 total fights, realistically, the only 2 fights that he's had on his resume that you gotta say, hey, those were some good fights that he won, was both wins against Chris Arreola. And Chris Arreola has turned out to be basically a club fighter. His knockout loss came at the hands of Demetrius King. Now, if you look up Demetrius King, you'll see that he's got a losing record, and you probably think that the guy is no good. That's totally the opposite. Demetrius King was a young heavyweight that was fed to the Lions way too soon. If Demetrius King, and this is just a side note, if Demetrius King had signed with the right team, we'd be talking about Demetrius King today as a champion, in my opinion. When he fought Stiverne in 2007, he had a losing record then, 11-15. But if you punch up Demetrius King, look at who he fought, and then tell me that this guy wasn't fed to the Lions way too soon. But nonetheless, Bermane Stiverne lost his title to Deontay Wilder in January of 2015 and didn't fight again. He fought that same year in November of 2015 against Derek Rossi, where a lot of people felt that, he was the beneficiary of a gift decision against Rossi. He won a 10-round decision and hasn't fought since. It's 2 years ago that he hasn't fought. Will be slightly under 2 years. This guy has been known for not really preparing too well. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. He's used the excuse that he was sick and that he was lethargic, and he certainly looked it against Wilder. I thought, and I was waiting for him to just open up and start letting his hands go. He never did, and he didn't do that either against Derek Rossi. Quite honestly, he's never really fought anybody. So to think that he's all of a sudden going to be this action-packed fighter Saturday night would be the wrong approach. But nonetheless, Deontay Wilder, he's a WBC champion. He won the title, like I said, over Stiverne in January of 2015. He's had 5 title defenses since then. And by the way, moving up to that Stiverne fight, the only opponents of note that you even can mention is Malik Scott, which was a fixed fight. Sakai Lukajevic was also there for a payday, took a dive and won. And Audley Harrison got knocked out in one. Those 3 guys had names, but none of them really came to fight or was told not to fight against Deontay Wilder. His first real fight was against Bermane Stiverne when he won the title. He did display a jab and boxing ability in that fight. He listened to his trainer, Mark Breland, but he's had 5 fights since, and he hasn't done anything close to boxing. He's gone in and headhunted all of his opponents. After Stiverne, he tried to take care of Eric Molina quick. Took him 9 rounds to do so. Then he fought Johan Duhaupas, going into this fight, virtually unknown fighter, and he developed a huge fan base because of his heart and determination, and has one of the most granite chins I've ever witnessed. The shots that Deontay was landing on Duhaupas that kept him up. Finally, the referee stopped it in the 11th round. I mean, he was just, it was brutal to watch, really, because this guy had no defense and very slow, and Deontay was just trying his hardest to stop him. He eventually got the stoppage in the 11th of his scheduled 12. The one fighter I do give Wilder a lot of credit for beating was Artur Spitska. Not that Spitska was so great, it's just that he was a relative fighter. This was a guy that was, meant something in the heavyweight division. He was a legitimate top 10 contender, and Deontay Wilder beat him, knocked him out in 9. It was a devastating knockout, probably newsreel, one of the best knockouts in history, really. I mean, if you look at it, it was a good knockout. I give Deontay credit for that win. That's actually, in my opinion, his toughest opponent and his best victory to date out of his 38 wins. He's 38-0 with 37 knockouts. The only fighter going the distance was Bermane Stiverne. After the Spitska fight, he fought a washed-up, finished Chris Arreola. How Chris Arreola even got that title shot, who knows? A lot of these fights that we look at Deontay, we all say, how did that guy get this fight? And his last fight against Gerald Washington, he knocked him out in 5. But the one thing that you could say was similar with the Artur Spitska and the Gerald Washington fight, Spitska was winning that fight on my scorecard up until the stoppage, and Gerald Washington was winning the fight up until the stoppage in the 5th round. So Deontay Wilder has become, in my opinion, a headhunter. He goes in there to take off his opponent's head. That's exactly what I think he's going to do to Bermane Stiverne on Saturday night. Like I said earlier, Stiverne's shot, in my opinion, is to be aggressive, is to go out there and attack Deontay. Deontay has shown that he doesn't like aggressive fighters. He doesn't like to be on his back foot. And, if you're aggressive with Deontay, you might sneak in a shot and test that chin. If I'm Bermane Stiverne, I work the body, I get inside, I'd be aggressive, I roll the dice, and I go into that fight either kill or be killed. That's my opinion of how Bermane Stiverne could win the fight. My official prediction, he's not going to win the fight. Deontay Wilder is going to win the fight. Deontay Wilder is going to come out and be aggressive and want to take Stiverne's head off, and he's going to knock out Bermane Stiverne much earlier than people think. I can't see this fight going 8 rounds. I think Deontay Wilder is going to knock him out. He's going to pound his chest, say everybody's scared of him, the same crap we hear from this guy all the time. I would love nothing more than an upset, not anything against Deontay, but I think it would help the heavyweight division a little better, but I don't think it's going to happen Saturday. I'm picking Deontay. Sal, Rocky, Cenicola, how do you see it?
Same thing. Let me tell you something. Bermane Stiverne, I think he is towards the end of his career, or twilight of his career.
He's beyond the end, right?
well, that's the whole thing. I mean, he's had opportunities. He's fallen short several times with his conditioning, with his excuses, with his things. He does have potential to be a gamer, and you know what? To win this fight or to even be competitive in this fight, he's a smaller fighter. He's got to fight like a smaller fighter. He's got to work his way in there. He's got to go to the body. He's got to be relentless. He's got to be willing to eat those punches from Deontay Wilder, get inside, cut the ring off on him, and just work the body, which will bring down the head. And that should be his technique. That should be his style. I don't know if he's got the conditioning, the heart, the chin, and the desire to really to go through all that, which he needs to do. Deontay Wilder knows this is going to be a showcase opportunity for him, knows that all eyes are on him to be critical, and knows that this is also going to lead up to a Anthony Joshua fight. So I think with that being said, Deontay Wilder is going to want to be at his best. He's going to be looking for the knockout. He's got that devastating, freakish knockout power. And I do believe this fight is going to end by a knockout with Deontay Wilder being the victor. So I see the fight much like you do. But I think Deontay Wilder is going to look very good. He's going to want to look good, and he's going to be very good.
Don't forget, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, we are not doing a live show tomorrow. It'll be a great chance for you to catch up on some shows that you might have missed. We have this trivia question going on, and I love the answers I'm getting, but the only thing I don't like is we haven't gotten a right answer yet, and I want to give away a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. So I'm going to ask the question one more time. The question is, who did and I'll tell you right now, the most common answer, and people are so cocky about this answer. I mean, they act as if they're already waiting for the game, for me to deliver the game. It's not. I'm going to give you a hint. It's not Sam Langford. It's not Sam Langford. At least 12 people have emailed me telling me that the correct answer is Sam Langford. It's not. So cross him off your list. The question is, who did Jack Dempsey say was the greatest fighter of his weight and height he ever saw? Who did Jack Dempsey say was the greatest fighter of his height and weight that he ever saw? He meaning Jack Dempsey. If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Good luck to everybody on that. And finally, on this day, November 2nd, in boxing history, in 1984, Carlos Santos wins a 15-round decision over Mark Medal to win the IBF junior middleweight title. It took place in New York City. On this day, in 1900, terrible Terry McGovern. Remember, we also had terrible Terry Norris. Terrible Terry McGovern knocks out Joe Bernstein in the 7th round to retain his world featherweight title, and that took place in Louisville, Kentucky. on this day in 1900. On this day in 1915, Ted Kid Lewis wins a 12-round decision over Milburn Saylor to retain his welterweight title, and that took place in Boston, Massachusetts. On this day in 2002, Marco Antonio Barrera wins a 12-round decision over Johnny Tapia to retain his world featherweight title, and that took place at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And finally, on this day, November 2nd, in 1895, former world middleweight champion and boxing Hall of Famer, non-parallel, Jack Dempsey, not the heavyweight. This was the middleweight. This was regarded as one of the greatest fighters ever. Died on this day. I lost my train of thought. On this day in 1895, the original Jack Dempsey died on this day at 32 years old. He was considered the best fighter ever, earning the nickname non-parallel. His career record, 51 wins, 23 by knockout, 4 losses in which he was stopped 3 times, and 11 draws. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1992. You know, so many of these great fighters died so young, and the original Jack Dempsey, dying at 32 years old, Sal.
Gee, he's a kid, basically. I'm telling you, wow.
I think I got T-shirts older than 32.
What did he die of?
You know, I forget. I think his liver wasn't doing too well from some of the from the hard life that
I was just saying, was that from the liver shots or the liver shot?
Yeah, exactly, from the liver shots. Maybe
Hey,
from
you like that?
the firewood. No, that was good. I like that. I like that. But anyway, hey, listen, man, that concludes our show for today. One more time, like I said, we will not be doing a live one tomorrow, but that'll be a great time to catch up on some shows you may have missed. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkin, TALKIN boxing, BOXING. We have all the stuff up there, and would appreciate it. Check it out. And listen, I'll leave you guys with this. Enjoy all the fights this weekend. We got some good ones, and we'll be talking about them on Monday. But make sure you enjoy the fights, and don't forget to do this. Make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.